You've met this person before. The moment you share good news, they find a way to shrink it. You get a promotion, they say, it's luck. You plan a vacation, they call it showing off. You buy something nice, they question your priorities. And if you've ever wondered why, here's the uncomfortable truth. People who constantly put others down aren't revealing anything about you. They're revealing everything about themselves. Because behind every sarcastic comment, every dismissive remark, every "I'm just being honest," is a person who feels threatened by something as simple as your growth. Your confidence exposes their insecurity. Your joy highlights their emptiness. Your progress triggers the fear that they're falling behind. Most people think criticism is about accuracy, but chronic criticism, that's about protection, their protection. A shield they raise every time your success reminds them of the things they haven't faced within themselves. So in this video, we're going to pull back the curtain. We'll explore the psychology of why some people can't celebrate others, why your achievements feel dangerous to them, and why putting you down is the only way they know how to feel. Tall, and trust me, it has nothing to do with you. Let's begin. To understand why some people feel the need to tear others down, we have to go back to one of the most important concepts in psychology, and ironically, one of the most misunderstood: inferiority. Alfred Adler, one of the founders of modern psychology, believed that every human being starts life with a sense of smallness. As children, we are weak, dependent, and overwhelmed by a world we can't control. From this earliest stage, we all develop what Adler called an inferiority feeling, a natural awareness that we're not yet who we want to be. This feeling is normal. In fact, it motivates growth. It pushes a child to walk, to speak, to learn, to become more capable. But there's a darker version. When a person grows up in an environment filled with comparison, criticism, or emotional neglect, when they never receive affirmation, or when failure is punished instead of guided, that healthy inferiority feeling mutates into something else, an inferiority complex. And once that happens, the person stops growing and starts defending. They no longer see others' success as inspiration, they see it as a threat. They no longer strive upward, they pull others downward. They no longer ask, "How can I improve?" They ask, "How can I make this person seem smaller than me?" This is the psychological root of chronic criticism. It isn't confident speaking, it's woundedness. It's a person who feels so deeply not enough that the only way they can breathe is by cutting others down to their level. Once you understand this, their behavior becomes clearer and far less personal. Here's something most people never realize. When someone with an inferiority complex sees you succeed, they don't just notice it. Their nervous system reacts to it like a threat. And there's a psychological reason for that. According to social comparison theory, we evaluate ourselves by comparing our lives to the people around us. For healthy individuals, comparison can be motivating or neutral. But for someone who already feels behind, every achievement you make becomes proof in their mind that they are losing. Your promotion reminds them they're stuck. Your confidence highlights their self-doubt. Your happiness points directly at their unhappiness. To them, your success isn't just success. It's evidence that they're failing at their own life. That's why they can't celebrate you. That's why their compliments feel forced or non-existent. That's why their first impulse is to downplay, dismiss, or discredit. Because if they acknowledge you fully, they have to confront themselves fully. And that is the one thing they're terrified of. So instead of working on their insecurity, they attack yours. Instead of growing, they judge. Instead of cheering, they criticize. It's not logic. It's self-preservation, a defensive reflex designed to protect a fragile ego from collapsing under comparison. Once you understand this threat response, their behavior suddenly makes sense. Your wins don't hurt them because you're doing too much. Your wins hurt them because inside they feel like they're not enough. Not everyone who puts others down does it for the same reason, but most of them fall into 3 psychological patterns. And once you understand these types, their behavior becomes almost predictable. 1. The insecure critic. If you shine, I disappear. This is the most common type. Their entire identity is built on shaky ground, so any sign of your confidence or success feels like an earthquake beneath their feet. They criticize not because they're strong, but because they cannot tolerate feeling weaker than you. They use sarcasm, subtle insults, and backhanded compliments as a way to lift themselves up temporarily. Around them, you'll always feel like you're too much or not enough, depending on what makes them feel safer in that moment. 2. The competitive critic. Life is a scoreboard, and I must win. This person is obsessed with ranking, measuring, and comparing. To them, every interaction is a competition, and every person is an opponent. If you do something good, they cannot simply acknowledge it. They must one-up it or tear it down. They're the friend who says, "Oh, you travelled there? I went somewhere better." Or, "You bought that? Mine was more expensive." Their criticism is a way of staying ahead in a race no one else is running. 3. The projection critic. I criticize you to avoid seeing myself. This is the most psychologically complex type. Instead of dealing with their own flaws, insecurities, or disappointments, they project them onto others. If they feel inadequate, they accuse you of showing off. If they fear judgment, they judge first. If they hate something in themselves, they attack it in the people around them. Being near them feels confusing because their criticism often comes out of nowhere, but it always reveals what they're avoiding inside. Recognizing these 3 types isn't about labeling people. It's about protecting your self-esteem and understanding that their words are reflections, not truths. If you've ever wondered why people who put others down seem so consistent, same tone, same patterns, same emotional reactions, it's because their behavior isn't random. It's driven by a predictable set of psychological mechanisms that activate whenever their ego feels threatened. 1. Self-serving bias. I'm not being rude, I'm being honest. People who constantly criticize rarely see themselves as negative. In their mind, they're the truth teller, the realist, the one who keeps everyone grounded. This bias protects them from acknowledging their insecurity by reframing their hostility as a virtue. It's not cruelty, it's just how I am. But make no mistake, honesty without empathy is not honesty. It's insecurity looking for an exit. 2. Ego defense mechanisms, the mind's automatic survival mode. When confronted with feelings of inadequacy, the brain activates quick, unconscious strategies to protect the self-image. People who put others down rely heavily on projection, attributing their own flaws to you, rationalization, inventing excuses to justify their criticism, displacement, redirecting anger or frustration onto safer targets, minimization, downplaying your achievements to avoid feeling inferior. These mechanisms are not intentional, they're automatic reflexes, but they still cause real harm. 3. Superiority as a mask. If I look bigger, I won't feel smaller. Perhaps the most powerful mechanism is false superiority, the illusion that putting others down makes them rise. It doesn't. It only hides the insecurity temporarily, like standing on tiptoe to look taller, even though nothing inside has changed. That's why chronic critics repeat the behavior. It's not working, but it's the only tool they know. Once you understand these psychological engines, their behavior becomes far less mysterious and far less personal. People who put others down rarely walk into your life announcing their intentions. They don't say, "Hi, I'm insecure, and I'm here to make you feel small." Instead, their behavior shows up in subtle patterns, the kind you only notice after they've already chipped away at your confidence. Here are the hidden signs to watch for. 1. They never give genuine compliments. If they praise you at all, it's wrapped in a jab. "Nice outfit for once." "Congrats. Must have been easier this year." Their compliments are engineered to land soft and cut deep. 2. They use sarcasm as a delivery system for hostility. They joke, they kid, they didn't mean it. But if you pay attention, their humor always punches downward toward you. 3. Your good news makes them uncomfortable. You'll see it in their eyes. A tiny flicker of annoyance before they force a smile. They change the subject, downplay your win, or immediately talk about themselves. Joy doesn't flow through them, it gets stuck. 4. They compare you to others constantly, not to motivate you, not to inspire you, but to remind you where they think you belong. 5. You consistently feel smaller around them. This is the most important sign. Your nervous system always tells the truth. If you leave interactions feeling drained, doubtful, or diminished, that is not a coincidence, it's a pattern. Recognizing these signs early isn't about judging people. It's about protecting your self-worth before someone else gradually erodes it. Constant criticism doesn't just sting in the moment, it reshapes you. Little by little, comment by comment, it rewires the way you see yourself. And often, you don't notice the damage until you're already carrying it. One of the most powerful areas affected is your self-concept, the internal story you hold about who you are. When someone repeatedly puts you down, especially someone close to you, your mind begins to absorb their words as if they were facts. You start questioning achievements that once felt solid. You second-guess decisions you used to make confidently. You shrink your dreams so they won't have anything to attack. Over time, something deeper happens. Their voice becomes your voice. This is how the inner critic forms that quiet, relentless whisper that tells you you're not good enough, not smart enough, not capable enough. A voice that didn't originate inside you, but now lives there rent-free. Chronic criticism can also create emotional side effects: heightened self-doubt, social anxiety, fear of being judged, perfectionism, difficulty celebrating your own successes. Because when someone trains you to associate visibility with attack, you start hiding even from yourself. But here's the truth. You were not born doubting your worth. You learned it from people who could not see theirs. Understanding this impact is the first step toward reclaiming your confidence and evicting the voices that never should have lived in your mind in the first place. People who constantly put others down weren't born that way. Their behavior usually traces back to childhood, long before they had the words to describe what they felt or the tools to cope with it. Many of them grew up in homes where love was conditional, where approval was scarce, and where their value depended on performance. Some were raised by parents who compared them to siblings, classmates, or neighbors. Why can't you be more like them? Others were met with harsh criticism instead of guidance, where mistakes weren't lessons but proof of failure. In those environments, a child learns a painful rule. If I can't be good enough, I can at least make others seem worse. Healthy confidence requires two things: being seen and being supported. But children who grow up without these experiences never internalize a stable sense of worth. Instead, they build a fragile identity, one that depends on keeping others below them so they can feel above water. Some learned that vulnerability wasn't safe, so they hid behind sarcasm. Some learned that affection was rare, so they chased superiority instead. And some learned that the only way to avoid being judged was to judge first. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it explains its origins. People who put others down aren't operating from strength, but from scripts written in childhood that they never outgrew. Understanding where their patterns came from helps you see the truth. Their insecurities were planted early, and their criticism of you is just a shadow of wounds they never healed. When someone puts you down, your first instinct might be to defend yourself, clap back, or prove them wrong. But here's the truth: that's exactly the reaction they want. Your emotional response validates their power. Your anger confirms their impact. And suddenly, you're playing a game they designed to win. So instead of reacting, you respond with intention. 1. Don't take the bait. A critic's energy feeds on your reaction. If you stay calm, neutral, and unbothered, the dynamic changes instantly. Silence, or a simple "all right," can be more powerful than a full debate. 2. Use the grey rock technique. Offer minimal emotion, minimal engagement, minimal validation. This isn't about being cold, it's about refusing to give their insecurity a place to land. 3. Set boundaries clearly and without apology. A simple "I don't receive comments like that," or "that's not helpful," draws a line they can't pretend they didn't see. You don't have to justify, explain, or negotiate your worth. 4. Reframe internally. Every time someone puts you down, remind yourself, this is information about them, not about me. You are not the mirror they use to measure their own inadequacy. 5. Don't become like them. You don't need to lower yourself to their tactics to regain power. Your strength comes from staying grounded, not reactive. Responding this way protects your confidence and proves something powerful. You don't need to shrink for anyone who feels threatened by your growth. If there's one thing to take from this entire video, it's this: people who put others down are not speaking from strength, they're speaking from wounds. Their criticism is not a reflection of your value, your talent, or your potential. It's a reflection of battles they haven't faced, insecurities they haven't healed, and fears they don't know how to name. You can understand their psychology without absorbing their projections. You can have compassion without becoming their target. You can recognize their patterns without letting those patterns shape your self-worth. Your growth does not harm anyone. Your confidence does not diminish anyone. And your success is not something you ever need to apologize for. So the next time someone tries to make you small, remember this: you are not responsible for protecting their insecurity. You are responsible for protecting your light. If this video helped you see yourself or others more clearly, I'd love for you to stay. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into the psychology behind human behavior. And in the comments, share your experience. Have you ever dealt with someone who constantly put you down? Your story might be the one someone else needs to hear today.